Blessings, folks. Welcome back to another episode of the Hitstreak. I am your man, Nick Hyder. And folks, I got an extra special treat joining me right here in the Hit Lab today. I'll let him tell you where he's from shortly because he had to come quite the ways to get here. You know what I'm saying? But folks, this young man is one of our proud veterans of our United States Armed Forces. Thank you for your service. And he is currently the Vice President and Financial Advisor at BOK Financial. Folks, help me welcome Joe Peck. How we doing, baby?
Hey, I'm great, Nick. Thank you so much for having me out here. Love the studio. I love Nashville, too. I got to say, I'm in town for a Coach Bird event. Happy I could come by and hang out with you over here at the podcast. And lovely area. Love seeing Nashville.
First hit of the day, dog. First hit of the day. And, well, yeah, man. So, seriously, thank you for your service.
Thank you.
It's unbelievably important. And we have to take care of our veterans, man. So thank you so much for everything that you have done and you continue to do. You know what I mean?
Hey, I appreciate that. I appreciate hearing that. Definitely want to continue showing that appreciation as time goes on, too. So thank you.
Well, folks, Joe, as I mentioned, is a very successful financial advisor. And what makes him successful is his mission. Right. That's true for everybody. Right. So it's not necessarily what you do. It's why you do it. So, financial literacy is something that is funny. I made a lot of money at one time, but I never had any. And it was because I didn't know what to do with it. Didn't know how to manage it.
Right.
Didn't even know what the words truly meant.
Right.
And it's literally financial literacy is a language. It should be everybody's second language.
Yes.
Right. Everybody's second language. So on top of wanting to help the entire human population, you have this is a big problem for our veterans, right? So it's something that you're wanting to truly give back and empower our veterans to take some financial literacy and run with it, right? So you have a great story that kind of goes back to 2008 that really hits close to home for you. It really hit home for you, as a matter of fact.
Absolutely.
With the crash in 2008 and really kind of lit your world on fire as to why you're doing what you're doing today, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, 2008 hit everybody, right? 2008 is just nobody had fun that year or the years following that, right? So for me, and you said young man, so, I'm going to date myself a little bit on the other end here of youth, but I was a kid in 2008. I was still in middle school in 2008. And, when everybody was losing their jobs and everybody was losing their homes, my family was going through our own individual crisis. My dad was in a little bit of a transition in his career, and we were forced to kind of leave the Midwest, originally from Ohio, even though I'm a Michigan State fan. Sorry, Ohio. Love Spartans, Michigan State Spartans, Detroit Red Wings fan, Tigers, Lions, the whole 9 yards.
Come on.
Sorry, it's not a fun time ever to be a Detroit sports fan, but I love my teams and I love my people. But we moved from Ohio out to Arizona, and that was just hard on my family, right? Financially, it was hard on my family. Personally, it was hard on my family. And one of the things that I realized as I started to get older, especially as I got into the finance industry too, I just realized that there were certain things that people didn't know, my family included, right? And now it's every day. I'm very, very close with my dad. He's my best friend to this day. Every time I'm talking to my dad, it feels like he just sits there and he goes, I didn't know that. Why didn't nobody ever tell me that, right? And, I kind of had this epiphany a year or two ago, and I just said, why aren't people teaching these things? Why isn't this stuff that people know, right? All due respect to all of our high school and middle school teachers and everything that we are taught from K through 12, but I need a lot less Pythagorean theorem, and I need a lot more taxation and why taxes, how taxes. That's what I really needed, and that's what most people needed. And then especially as I transitioned out of the military, but even while I was still in the military, having, guys that were coming in or gals that were coming in at 18, 19, 20. And the age old joke in the military is, you get to your first base, take a first sergeant or NCO with you so that you don't sign up a Ford Mustang at 28% interest rate. That's a joke, but it's a reality in the military too, right? So as I transitioned out, I just realized this is a community that doesn't know. There's always, your needle in the haystack. There's always your odd ones out that, they really like stocks. They really like money. They really like talking about that stuff. And you're going to have that everywhere, the exception to the rule. But for the most part, this is not a language people talk to, and this is really not a language that especially the military talks to. You don't think about it until, unfortunately, most of the time it's already too late.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's because you're probably reacting to a problem, right?
Right. It's a reaction, and it's not an appropriate response, right? And whenever we're presented, we talked about this a little bit, whenever we're presented with a problem or something like that, some sort of issue, we can either react and kind of freak out, which is what most reactions are, or we can take in the information, we can plan accordingly and respond appropriately to whatever it is. And that's the other thing that, is a part of my holy crusade, if you will, which is, I want to talk to financial literacy, but also, how do you solve a problem? How do you really critically think through an issue and actually attack that issue appropriately so that you don't just freak out when something bad happens, right?
I love it, man. I love it. And, we've talked a lot about financial literacy on the show for the 2.5 years that we've been doing it. And, again, I mentioned before, I learned how to make a lot of money, but I never had any, right? So, and I definitely didn't have money working for me as a tool, which is what it is.
Right.
And it was Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad that changed
Love that book.
my life.
Yeah.
So everybody should read that book, right?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. That book and him or the publisher don't sponsor me, but if you want to, but I'll tell you what, that everybody should read that book. They should be reading in high school. They should be reading in middle school. At some point in time, that information needs to cross young people's paths because just the way it kind of teaches you to think, and just the way that it kind of teaches you to look at employment and look at income, it changes the game. Just changes the way you think about everything.
And they have a teenage version of that book.
Do they?
They sure do. My son's read it a couple times. He's about to read the adult version. You know what I mean? So, but they do. They have it's Rich Dad Poor Dad for teenagers.
Really?
Sure does.
I'm gonna buy that as soon as I get out here. My boys aren't teenagers yet, but they're gonna be learning that here soon. I'll tell you right now,
dude. It's a pretty easy read because like what we do with my son is he's so we're teaching him financial literacy right through like how he makes money versus how he spends it versus what costs him money from mistakes and so on and so forth. And but one of the ways that he gets paid is he reads 20 minutes a day minimum. That's a requirement. But when he does that, he's in his time blocking. He's also got to tell us what it was that he read that night.
Nice.
And he writes it down. So literally, he could go back and look a year and a half ago and find out what 20 minutes he read and what page numbers they were in what book and what he got out of it that time.
Well, and that even helps with comprehension too. Just being able to write it down and then go back and actually talk about it. That's going to help with comprehension.
Absolutely.
That's good. I'm stealing that for my kids. I'll
Absolutely.
tell
And then a lot of times I take my son to school when he's in one of those hybrid schools here. He's in a homeschool curriculum, but he goes a couple days a week and whatnot, and it's great. But when I take him, that was where some of my favorite rides is because he was reading that book at the time, and I'd be like, all right, tell me what you read last night.
Right.
And we could talk about it on the way to school, and it was so cool. It was a lot of fun.
Well, I think that's where most of the formation comes into play, right? Because I know at least when I was a kid and I was in school, I was not going to sit still for an hour, let alone an hour, 7 times in a row, 7-8 hours in school. A lot of that comprehension, a lot of that understanding is going to take place just on those rides with dad when you're just having a casual conversation. And I'll give you an example. I taught my 7-year-old about loans and about interest rates. Well, how'd you teach him that? Well, we loaded up my truck with just a bunch of garbage that we had to take to the dump. It was just lawn chairs, just random things that you have that you've been accumulating for too long. And we went to the dump. And I'm on my way there, didn't realize it. And I told him to bring his wallet. We were going to stop at the store and get some bubble gum or something. I don't remember. But he brought his wallet. He's 7 years old and he works for his own money and he saves up. And my wife called me and she goes, "Hey, how far are you?" I go, "Well, I'm halfway to the dump." She says, "Yeah, the one that you're going to only takes cash. Do you want to drive 45 minutes to the other one?" Because my wife knows I don't carry cash. I don't like carrying cash. Whenever we go, like we were at a resort just this past weekend, and I told the bellhop, I was like, "Just go get my wife. She's gonna tip you. I'm sorry, I don't carry cash." She goes, "Do you want to drive all the way to that other dump?" I said, "No." I said, "How much is it?" She goes, "Well, I think it was $14. And I looked over at my son and I go, "How much money do you have on you right now?" And he goes, and he counted, he had $17. And I was like, nope, babe, we're good. Click. And I said, listen, you're about to learn something today. We learned the word loan. I think he'd already known the word loan, but I said, okay, do you understand what this is? That I'm going to go in debt to you, which means I owe you something. And my son paid for our dump. And then after that, I gave him 20. So he gave me 17. I was able to pay the 14, and then I gave him 20, right? So I said, you loan me that amount of money. I'm not going to teach you all the math on interest because you don't know multiplication, you don't know division. There's no point in that. But the concept that you need to understand right now at 7 is that daddy needed something. You had the money. You gave me the money. I did what I needed to do. I gave it back to you, and I gave you more money on top of that. And that was a simple thing. And now to this day, he's coming up to me, he goes, hey, Dad, do you need to go to the dump? I was like, no, I don't need to go to the dump again, dude. All right, chill. Well, okay. I'm like, those Hot Wheels look good, though, right?
It's a smart young man right there.
Yeah, he is. He's my little negotiator, my oldest. He's hilarious. But it's those simple little things, those little moments that you can have, right? That if you don't have that conversation with them at some point, or especially when they're young, not to rain on anybody's parade here, but that's how you get $200,000 in student loans when you go to college, because nobody ever told you any better, right? Sorry to rain on people's parade, but if you don't know these lessons, that's what happens to you, and you don't realize it. Oh, that's credit card, free money. Let me go spend $20,000.
That's right.
What do you mean I got to give it back? So yeah.
And with the world we're living in today, tell me what you think about this. One of my buddies, great businessman, very, very, honestly, a lot of what I know about money, I learned from just working with him, right? And through experience, very smart. And we were talking about the world that we live in today. He's raising a young boy just like I am. Mine's just a few years older. And in that conversation, he's like, Nick, at the end of the day, the hardest two things for a young person to buy today are a home and a car.
Yeah.
And just because they usually won't have the down payment because it's just the way the market is and with inflation and everything else. So he's like, if you can start your kid off where they may have school debt, they may not, depending on if it's truly a good return of it on investment, with the time and the money. But he was like, if you can, he was like, I want my son, when he goes out, I want to be able to say, here's your roof, and here's your car. And then he's been saving his money. We had basically a savings or earning plan until he was 18. So he's basically going to like starting life, instead of being in debt, 50, 60K, 100K, and no money. If he's my goal is to make sure he has a car, a home, and $10,000 in the bank when he's like, I can't think of a better way to start life than that way. And I was like, bro, if I'd have had that, it would have been a game changer.
Absolutely. Are you kidding me? I mean, you're just setting your kid up for success. And where stuff comes in like that, we really talk about compound interest a lot, right? Is that if you want to set your kid up with something like that, there's a bunch of different accounts that we can talk about, 529s, standard brokerage accounts, set them up with a Roth IRA. There's lots of different things that you can go ahead and do to set your kid up for that. But, the important part is starting it. So if there's anything that anybody takes away from today when it comes to money and how money works and money habits and basic finances, time. Time is going to be your best friend when it comes to anything and everything money. Most of the audience probably hasn't, but do you know the penny trick?
Tell me. All
right, so here. If you at home, anybody's listening, pull up your calculator and put in 0.01.
I'm going to do this. Hold on. 0.01 is going to be fun.
And you multiply it by 2. Now, what the trick is obviously a trick question, but I would say, Nick, do you want a penny doubled every day for 30 days, or do you want $1 million right now? Which would you take?
A penny doubled every day for 30 days, or $1 million right now?
Cash.
So after 30 days, the penny can no longer double.
After 30 days, it's done doubling, but you got 30 days.
Most people would probably say they want $1 million, but I haven't done the math yet on the penny that.
Well, let's take a look, right? And this is the trick question, right? Because most people are like, give me that $1 million, man. Yeah. Well, no, that's not the right answer. Okay. So if we take 0.01 and we multiply by 2, that's 2 cents. The second day, you double it again, that's 4 cents. Just keep hitting your equals button. The third day, fourth day, fifth day, sixth day, seventh day, 8, 9, 10. So after 10 days, you should be at $10.24. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. You're up to $10,485. Nobody's going to complain about that. But compound interest doesn't do anything until the very end. So if we're on day 20, let's go to day 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Hey, we're up at $335,544.32. And we're on day 25, right? So we got 5 days left. So day 6, 671,000. Day 27, 1.3 million. 28, 29, 30. If you double a penny every day for 30 days, you get $10.7 million.
That's Nick Hyder kind of math right there, baby. I like that.
So listen, this is the game, right? Can you get started early enough? Or if you can't get started early enough, can you stay in long enough, right? And then the trick comes into, well, how do you double the penny, right? Well, and that's where people like me come into play, okay? You don't necessarily have time because you're running a family, you're running a business, or you're doing everything that life has to offer you. Where are the things we can do to go ahead and double that penny? And that's a conversation you then have with your financial advisor around goals and risk and all that kind of stuff, right? But again, the point is just get in as early as you can, save as early as you can, and then wait, right? If you can make time your friend, you will be financially and make good decisions. Don't get to, day 10 and take out your $10,000 and say, I'm rich, right?
That's
No,
right.
don't do that, right? Make good decisions. Do your best not to mess up, and use time to your best advantage. It'll take care of you.
You know, it's just so valuable because, again, there's the tax codes here in the United States are crazy, like complex. Okay, crazy complex. And I love the CPA that we have is fantastic. I don't really want to know what she does or she tells me why she did it and what the results are, which is what matters. I don't really care how they made the pizza. I just know that I could get it. I like it. And I know when it's going to be there. Right. So, but you do so the question I'm getting to is you have to know a certain amount to be able to hire the right person.
Yes.
Okay. And then from there, we're going to go to everybody, W-2 people should probably invest a little bit different than maybe, I can make money quick.
Right.
You know what I mean? So stuff that can compound for me is a little different than somebody that's getting paid the same amount. You know what I mean? Every 2 weeks or every 30 days or every year, whatever it is, that type thing. So based on, there's different strategies, but as far, how would somebody, what basic knowledge does somebody have to be able to hire the right professional to have in their life to cover this?
Right. Well, I think that you hit a really good point there, right? Which is, nobody has the exact same situation. So the catchphrase you're always going to hear advisors say is, hey, financial advisor, what is the best stock I should do? Or, hey, what should I do? Well, our catchphrase is, it depends, right? That's the catchphrase. And this is really what started waking me up to financial literacy and the lack thereof, and kind of how this game is really played, which is W-2 plays a different game than 1099, which plays a different game than the top 1%, right? You want to get a little bit frustrated at home? Sorry to frustrate you. Go look up the 6,000 pound vehicle tax break rule. I can't remember exactly what section and subsection it is, but go to Google, just type that in, and you'll start to realize that Cadillac Escalades can be a tax write-off.
I got a big old heavy vehicle out back out there.
There you go. That's a tax write-off. So not giving any advice here, but then you start to look at, well, okay, if I'm W-2 and I'm making $60,000 a year, that tax code, that tax break doesn't do me anything, right? So I don't need to know that information yet, right? And so we see all these Instagram gurus and these life coaches always talking about, hey, you want to make your $1 million quick, do this and this and that, invest in this. It's like, listen, there's a difference between income and investing. And if you do want to make millions and millions of dollars real quickly, that's going to come down to income. Investment is a long game. I don't care if it's real estate. I don't care if it's stocks and bonds and securities. Right. 99% of investments are a long game. Income is the short game to go ahead and build that up quickly. Now, what do you need to know to kind of figure out who you need to go talk to and who you need to go to get assistance and get help? This is the reason I'm on my holy crusade, which is, people don't even know what's the first question you need to ask, right? So what I would say, the first thing you need to do is go to your employer. If you're self-employed, just go talk to an advisor or a CPA. But if you are W-2, go call up whoever it is holding your 401k or 403b, whatever it is, Vanguard, Fidelity, Schwab, the big accounts, and say, what is my contribution rate? and what is the match. And the match is key because it's free money pretty much, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you can figure that out, that's where you start out. You start out right there. What is coming out of my paycheck going towards my specific retirement, and what is my company doing to help me with my retirement? And that's what that match is.
Okay.
And this is where it can kind of get frustrating sometimes. Some companies will get kind of convoluted. They'll say, well, we'll match 100% of 6%. And then the next 4% up to 10%, we're going to match 50% of that 10%. Don't rip your hair out. Don't get too upset trying to figure it all out. They're matching 6% right there. Cool. You know that you need to be at least putting in 6% of your own money from your paycheck into your retirement to take advantage of what your company is putting in for you. Start at match if you're W-2. And if your company is not matching you, you're probably pretty small, a small organization. I'm hoping that you have a relationship with the people running that company. If it's that small, you probably do. Those smaller companies, they have good culture, to where you can kind of go in and talk to the CEO, Bob, whoever it is. Go and talk to them and say, why is there no match? And you can kind of take it from there.
Yeah.
But the main place that I'd start, it's going to be your income. Dave Ramsey, we love Dave Ramsey. He is right. Your best wealth building tool is your income, right? So start there. Put money into your 401k and your 403b. And once you are at that point, then you can start looking at, okay, what exactly am I invested in? What is a stock? What is a bond? What is the difference? What's a mutual fund? What's an ETF? And the nice thing about the 21st century, all of it's on Investopedia. All of it's on Google. So if you don't know where to start and what questions to ask, look at just the building blocks. My 401k says it is 70% stock and 30% bond. If anybody knows me, I have no shame. I will ask the stupid question. I will not feel bad about it. Go to Google, type in what is a stock. That is not a stupid question, but people feel like that's a stupid question.
Yeah.
It's not. And Google doesn't judge you, and if it does, who cares, right?
That's right.
It's Google. So go and do this research on Investopedia. Also, most employers will have whoever's holding that 401k, they will have some sort of consultant on it. Like Fidelity has people you can call, and they'll go ahead and consult you on what is handled inside your 401k. So use those resources, especially with W-2. They're usually free for you. So I definitely just say use your resources.
I love it. I love it. I want to thank all of our loyal fans that spread across all 50 states and 14 different countries. It's absolutely amazing. Folks, help us keep spreading the word, right? Share your favorite episodes with friends and make sure that you are liking and subscribing to the Hitstreak on all digital platforms. Thanks again, and we look forward to more. So I learned the last time I received W-2 pay, I actually was a profit share partner on the company, and
cool.
That was their model where they put all the executives and owners on W-2 pay, and the controller of that company was a very bright woman, and she taught me something that day because you're filling out the paperwork and you get to choose a number that you're going to claim. Mm-hmm. Right, 0 through, is it 9? I think.
You're talking about dependents.
Yeah, well, yeah, and so I was always just told, you just put 0 or 1, 0 or 1.
Yeah.
And
deductions.
Deductions.
Yeah.
And then they would, and then I would always get a refund back at the end of the year, and I felt like it was Merry Christmas, right? And then she looked at me and she was like, why do you want to get a refund from this? And I was like, what do you mean from this? And she says, well, you're basically letting them take out your money early and hold it, and then when if you ask for it back, they'll give you back the difference of what you overpaid. I'm like, you mean I've been overpaying the whole time?
Yep.
And they've been sitting on my money interest free, and then they give it back to me as if it's a gift?
Yep. Surprise. Yeah.
I was like, well, how do I know what to claim?
And that's when the IRS says, oh, don't worry, it's a surprise. We don't know either, but we'll tell you if you're wrong.
Man, my life changed in that moment right there. And that was even today when I learned something new about money, I love learning new things about money. Mm-hmm. And by the way, it's forever changing too, right?
Always.
But I love learning new things about money. And then, the difference versus, good school, bad school, what should you be going for, return on investment, all those things. I'm like, well, the one thing we can all agree on is that they give you a report card that decides how good of you are at school, how good of a student you are, right? And that works for a lot of people because it gives them something to measure. All right, well, then they grow up and they're no longer in school, no more report cards. So this is when I do a lot of keynotes and such, this is one of those statements that really you hear the crowd go, or amen or something like that.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, so you went to school, you got your grades. What kind of a student were you? And they tell me I was a B student, C student, A student, whatever it may be. All right, cool. Now you're an adult. You're no longer in school. So now your report card's your bank account. What kind of grades you making?
Right.
And that's when they go, oh man, he got me on that. You know what I mean? Not very good. We all want money. Everybody will say, yeah, I want money. Mm-hmm. But one, they're not really willing to do what it takes to get it.
Yes.
But it's not, you don't have to do as much as you think if you understand money.
Yeah. See, this is actually something I was talking with the taxi driver on my way over here. I said, that is one of the true blessings of the United States, right? You work hard on something and you will be successful. Stick it out, work hard, you'll be okay. One thing that I like to add on that, though, is work hard on the right things. Because we probably both know people that they are the hardest workers in the room, but not to offend anybody, not to insult anybody, but they're the hamster in the wheel.
Yeah.
They're the fastest hamster, and they're the buffest hamster, but they're running the wheel.
Get out of the rat race, man.
Got to get out of it, right? You have to start to say, okay, if I've been doing this for a long time and I'm working hard and I'm doing good right here, I know that I'm smarter, I'm better, maybe get the chip off your shoulder, but I'm better and I'm working harder than the people up here. What's the difference? Well, probably what the difference is that you are working hard, but you're not working hard on the right things, right? And this is where that kind of critical problem solving, comes into play. Well, if I'm not working hard on the right things, what are the right things? And then that's when you get real close to them and you go, that's the game, okay? That's what you got to figure out. That's where you need to be putting your focus.
Brad, my buddy Bradley always tells me, he goes, Hyder, first of all, money's abundant. Okay. So he's like, you know where it is? And now I know the answer, but the first time I asked him, I'm like, he goes, it's in everybody else's pockets. Yeah. You just got to find out what problem they need solved and assign a value to that. And you trade problem solution for money. That's when money changes hands, when problems are solved.
Right. Coach Michael Burt. I love that. And the other thing he says is you don't need more money. You need more people.
That's
the
right.
people have the money, right?
That's right.
Solve their problems and you'll get your bucket.
That's exactly right. And, again, when you realize that money is abundant, it's just like, like for me, our life changed when it was, for a long point in time, we were recruiting insurance agents, and the more insurance agents we had that were successful, the more money we made. You know what I mean? And it was like, how can our money work for us? 2022 was a great year for us because it was the first year that we made more money not working than we did working. Right.
Congratulations, by the way. That's awesome.
We were 42 years old, and that was amazing. Okay. First time it ever happened. Life-changing. But what really struck ground with me, and I don't really know exactly who gave me this analogy, but I've used it a ton, and maybe they gave me a different version of it, and I turned it into my own. But basically, it was like, all right, dude, so all my money, every dollar bill is a soldier. And I'm going to send them out, and they can't come back without more soldiers. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, again, if you're recruiting people, you got to go where the people that you want are so that they're bringing back good, clean people. You know what I mean? Legal people.
Right. Well, and that's kind of the game, too, right? Is because you don't want the people that aren't going to do anything either, not just because they're useless, for lack of a better way, but that lack of productivity and that toxicity brings everything else down, too. So you're absolutely right.
Absolutely, man. So, all right. So there's a lot of our listeners, maybe like old Nick was when, or younger Nick was, when it came to talking about money. The reason money is often the villain, which money's not the villain, folks. Okay, money just amplifies who you are. If you're a good person, it'll make you a greater person. If you're a bad person, it's going to make you a worse person. Right. So, and money's just a tool. So when I would hear people talking about money, I would immediately, just because I didn't understand the words they were saying, tune them out. Right. All right. So let's and even that may have happened so far today when we're talking about Roth IRAs and and all this type of stuff. So let's just take them back for a minute. Let's the Kiyosaki method, like there's the cash flow quadrant, what I mean, all that type of stuff. So let's just talk to them about the 3 or 4 different types of income. Like you want recurring revenue, right? You want to have that. You want like having debt that cash flows positive. Well, that's a great asset,
Right.
and gosh, man, like that was life changing when we learned that too.
Right.
We have certain things that we take losses on purpose. It's
Depreciation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about just some terms that might get thrown around all the time that maybe they don't understand. The most common ones probably that you deal with your clients. And let's just give them the second grade version of that so that for the rest of the conversation, they're like, I know exactly what he's talking about. Let's give them some value.
Absolutely. And, active, passive, and investment, right? That's what we're really talking about. And I really think of that in more of a tier form instead of a quadrant or a flow. I think of it in terms of tiers. When you are first starting out, you've got active income. And that's all you have because you've got no money to invest and you've got nothing that's earning you money passively, right? And then once you've actually started to make a little bit of money, you can get investments. And then once you've invested for a while, you've got a lot of income, then you can start looking at things that are going to cash flow appropriately, right? You can really get into that. But active income is sweat off your back. Right. That's what it really comes down to.
Time for money, right?
That's it. Yeah. You are a carpenter and I used to do construction. So wild respect, especially to any roofers out in Phoenix. I did roofing in Phoenix and I will never, there's a reason I have an office job now. Let's just say that.
Well, that's the surface of the sun on a roof in Phoenix.
I'll tell you what, man, we would take a case of water up on the roof with us and none of us would go to the bathroom the whole day.
No, you didn't even have it at lunch. It was gone by lunch.
Literally. It was. I remember I had this kind of to go off a little bit, but I had this existential crisis moment. Right, I was standing on a roof. It was June in Phoenix, and this is when I was on the military base, and we were redoing, commercial roofs. You've got the gigantic roll, then you've got a blowtorch, right? So you actually melt the tar as it's being unrolled on the roof. So it's June.
It's a sticky job.
Yeah. So it's June.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good. It's June. I'm in my uniform with my harness. It's 120 degrees because of all the metal, the jet afterburners, all the glass and all that's probably 126 to 130. And I've got a blowtorch in my hand. And I remember at that exact moment, I thought to myself, what am I doing with my life? Why am I here right now? This sucks, right? But anyway, to kind of go back from that, that's active income, right? That is earned income. You are doing something and somebody is giving you money in return off of what you specifically are providing for them. That's active income. Passive income is kind of how to put it? It's kind of the thing everybody dreams about, nobody ever really gets, right?
Mailbox money.
Yeah, it's you're not doing anything and a check appears, right? You can potentially kind of think of like rental properties like that instead of investments, but that's going to be your passive income, right? I did something, I don't do it anymore, but it provides me with a check, right?
Insurance is a great form of passive income.
Insurance is a great example of that. And then you've got your investments, your stocks, your bonds, and to give us our second grade definitions here, stock, you go up to a random company, you go up to Nick and you say, Nick, I'm going to give you $100 and now I own $100 of you. That could be 10%, that could be 1%, that could be 50%, whatever that is. I now own $100 worth of Nick's company. Okay. A bond is different. A bond is actually, Nick, you're saying, hey, I'm building a new studio for my podcasting, right? But I don't have the money, or if I do have the money, I don't want to spend it for whatever reason. So I've got these certificates called bonds, and somebody comes up and I say, hey, if you give me being Nick, $1,000 in 5 years, I will give you your $1,000 back. And I'll give you $100 in addition to that. So you get to walk away with $1,100 after 5 years. That's what a bond is. The company is actually indebted to you. That's what a bond is. So most people will see things like this, corporate bonds, municipal bonds. If a municipality is trying to raise money for like a new train station or something like that, they'll put out revenue bonds, right? The county or the state, whatever it is, they'll go ahead and put that out to raise money for this, and then they're indebted to you when you provide however many dollars you want to go ahead and provide to that. Those are stocks and bonds. Then you've got things like mutual funds, which if we're talking about 401ks and 403bs, that's what you're going to be invested in. You're not, for the most part, you're not going to be able to do selective stock picks like Walmart, Tesla, whatever it is. And what a mutual fund is one person, let's say his name is Joe Peck, his name is Nick Hyder. He says, I'm going to create a fund of 100 different stocks. And people that want to be invested in these 100 different stocks are going to come and buy a share of this fund because we all have a mutual interest of the success of these investments. So it's called a mutual fund, right? It can be a tech mutual fund, a blue chip mutual fund, an oil mutual fund, energy, whatever it is, right? And that's where it comes into you getting a little bit more knowledgeable about what the different sectors do and things like that, and picking whatever mutual fund that you think is going to be best. I'm not giving advice. Again, no advice here.
No,
but that's what a mutual fund is.
Basic economics 101, man. You know what I mean? So this is all really, really good stuff, dude. That's again, just that right there. There's so much value in what you just said right there. Yeah. It's fantastic. So I'm gonna pause here for just a second. So Jensen's off camera. He's our producer today. Jensen, this is as a bright young man like you are, I bet there's some stuff here that's going to be really valuable to you. You know what I'm saying? So what I want you to do is do me a favor, and I'm gonna give you a pen. You've got an extra piece of paper over there, maybe, yeah. I got a paper towel for you that we can use. That's all right. So what I want you to do is I just want you to, as we get through this, I want you to think about this episode. I want you to write down one question for the end that you can ask him, just because I think it's going to be really, really, really relevant. So he's sitting here real time, young man, super bright, and like literally he's got the world by the balls. Like, you know what I'm saying? He's going to be very successful. And but like, dude, if I had got this information when I was your age, like where we're at right now, we would be, way further in the journey. You know what I'm saying? So this is big stuff right here. So that'll be fun. A little Q&A live in studio.
I love that. I'm best interactive. How old are you, Jensen? 21. You're 20. Man, heck yeah. Are you kidding me? Yeah. Let me know any questions you have, man. We'll get you taken care of.
He's 21. Which
if you can get started.
Fantastic.
Oh my gosh.
Fantastic. That's right. So a couple of fun facts about you. And I want to, obviously the military. Once again, thank you for your service. It's a big deal. Your service there and what you want to do with them. But folks, let me pause real quick. We're hanging with Joe Peck, the Vice President and Financial Advisor at BOK Financial. I mentioned I was going to ask him where he's from. He's from Phoenix, right? We got a lot of friends out in Phoenix. Great city and great town out there.
Super
and he's a dad, 4 boys.
4 boys.
So
lots of testosterone.
So my wife and I have 2, so we can still play man-to-man defense. You guys are in full zone.
Yeah, it's all zone defense. And at church, everybody's got kids at church. There's a ton of kids, and so they say all the times, like, we don't do man-to-man here. We do zone defense. So if a kid runs to one side, somebody's got him on that side, right? Because there's a lot, and especially in my house, the 4 boys.
And then ages currently, as we sit today, 9, 7, 4, and 3.
9 on Thursday.
Wow, that's amazing. I got a just turned 15 and just turned 3.
Nice.
Daughter's 3 and son is 15.
Hey, congratulations.
So it's the best. Kid outside of Jesus, that's God's greatest gift as a child.
Amen.
You know what I mean?
The nice thing is they keep you on your toes too. They keep you young, They ask you the oddest questions at the oddest times, like really just groundbreaking existential questions, and they're like 4 years old. Mm-hmm. Remember, my son asked me why we're on Earth one time, and he was 3.5.
Wow.
And that's my son. He's my bright one. I've got my one. I love him to death, but I'm like, I really hope you're good at sports. And Dimitri, I'm like, all right, you're the one getting the scholarships, right? So Dimitri, he's the one. He's hilarious. He's the one that thinks of these questions, right? Daddy, why did God make us? I'm like, honey, can you finish your Cheerios? Are you kidding me? And he's a crack up because he's, like I said, he's my little brainiac, right? He would take puzzles. When your kids were young, you remember the puzzles where they were like little 12-piece and they had little shapes on the back, right? So if the kid was looking for the missing piece, he knew that this was the piece that had all the triangles on the back or had all the squares in the back, right? Well, what Dimitri would do is we had about you know, kids, you're always missing a piece somewhere. But we had, I think, at one time, 3 fully functional of these 12 to 15 piece puzzles. And it was like a zebra, a lion, and an elephant. And Dimitri, he would take the box that had all of them in there, he'd dump them out. And then while they're still face down, so he can't see the animal, he can just see the cardboard and the red triangle or the red square, he would do all of the puzzles. And then he'd flip them over and they'd be perfect. And I'm like, listen, kid, you ever heard of MIT? Because we're going to be talking about this. I mean, he's a little brainiac.
That's awesome.
But he runs into walls sometimes too. You know, this is the thing with kids, that they're complete opposites at certain points in time. We hadn't taught him any math yet. And he came up and he said, his older brother was learning multiplication. And he said, Daddy, 2 times 5 is 10. And I'm like, honey, I haven't even taught you math yet, but good job. He goes, yeah. And he turns and walked right into the wall and fell down and hurt his head. And I'm like, God, whoo, okay, we're going to have some work to do with you, but okay. But he's a little brainiac, but does some of the kookiest stuff sometimes.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. The Hitstreak is powered by our partners at HitLab Creative Studios. Whether it's launching your brand new podcast, rebranding your current podcast, or taking advantage of any of their other content packages specifically for your social media needs, the HitLab is a one-stop shop for you. Visit hitlabstudio.com for more. Before we talk a little bit about the military folks, we're hanging with Joe Peck. Check him out online. So check it out. He has an amazing training platform. Okay, it's on Patreon. Patreon.com/Joseph Peck. Keep up with him on Instagram at Real Joseph Peck. All right. And we'll talk more about that Patreon here in just a little bit, right? So, and as well as an event that you can leak a little bit of information that's happening in October of this year, right? So, all right. So he is a first of what I'm about to tell you. So, I don't want anybody to have a wreck if you're driving. You might want to pull over before I give you this information. All right. He is our first guest on the show to ever be able to claim this. He's also the first person that I've ever met in real life to be able to claim this. A real life competitive bagpiper.
That's it.
True story.
True story.
Well,
you got the pics to show it too.
Let's hear about it then.
All right, so I am 4th generation off the boat from Scotland. My grandfather's parents were from Scotland, and I kid you not, this is really how I got into it. My mom walked up to me. I think I was 8 years old. I may have been 9, but she walked up to me and said, Joe, your brothers do not want to play bagpipes. And since you are the youngest, one of my sons will learn bagpipes. So we're driving to Akron tomorrow night and you're going to learn bagpipes. Oh. And then she walked away. And I'm sitting there like, what's a bagpipe? By the way, Mom, I'm 9 years old. And I that's literally how I got into it. Wow. My mom, she wanted to be a concert pianist when she was in high school and just couldn't make it happen due to finances or other things in the family when she was in high school and when she was a kid. So she went on like this kind of crusade to, if my son wants to really actually be a good musician, she was going to make it happen. So every week when we were in Ohio, I think it was still on Friday, it may have been on Wednesday, but she would drive me about an hour away to go to Akron to play with the Akron and District Bagpipe Band. That's what it was called. Tim Wiley, I think he still plays out there. Tim, if you're seeing this, know that I love you. He was my first ever instructor. And he taught me everything that I knew.
This is wild, dude.
There's a photo of me. I was 9 or 10 years old, and I've got a kilt on, I've got spats, and I've got my bagpipes, and I was literally parading with a bunch of 40, 50, 20, 30-year-olds as this little old 9-year-old playing the bagpipes.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
And I mean, it literally just took off from there. My dad, I don't know how he got me these opportunities. My dad's kind of a magician. He looks like Santa Claus too, big white beard, long white hair. He somehow got me a meeting at 10 with the police and fire chief of the town. Okay. And to this day, I still have them. They made me the official bagpiper of Louisville, Ohio. And I have a police badge and I have a fire department badge that says I was their official bagpiper. I was in the news and everything. And Hall of Fame, Football Hall of Fame. I did that one year too. So, wow. Yeah, inducted them in.
Well, getting that might be greater than getting the key to the city.
Yeah, it was certainly cooler, right? Yeah,
that's right.
I thought it was really cool.
That's right. Well, dude, we are nothing without the support of our amazing armed forces that allow us to keep all of the amazing lifestyle and freedoms that we have today, right? So thank you for your service. I'll say it again. I'll say it till I'm blue in the face. But talk to me a little bit about, you hear a lot about PTSD and soldiers when they're coming back from the worst atmospheres and literally hell on earth. They come back and sometimes they have a hard time adapting or leaving that stuff behind, right?
Right.
And I don't know. I'm not an expert at PTSD or anything, but I do understand that it's there's things that can trigger it, and it's some form of stress. And I would imagine when you've gone and done that, and the only thing you don't have to worry about when you're there, unless you got families back home or whatnot, you got to keep up with is money. You're there. You guys are there for a job, and the money's not something you have to count every day.
Right.
So you come back, and now it's a big part of your life, and you may or may not know a lot about it. We actually owned a bar when we were doing that in Clarksville, which is right down the road from Fort Campbell, which is like in Clarksville, it's like the car dealership capital of Tennessee, because these guys come back from Iraq or wherever from serving a tour. They got all that money in the bank. They go buy a car, right?
Oh, yeah. Mustang at 28% interest rate. Yep.
That's right.
Yep.
So, because we were talking about that. So, I literally there's Clarksville ain't that big mileage wise. It is, but not population wise. And they got more car dealerships than Nashville. So, I know this is a very big, a very big piece of your heart that you're, and one of the ways you want to give back, to your brothers and sisters doing that. So let's talk to me a little bit about what you did in your with your history there, and kind of like what made you so, passionate about helping your colleagues and your teammates.
Absolutely. So one thing I want to get very, very clear right off the bat is just that I'm not a combat veteran. I did deploy, but I was not in combat, and I'm not sitting here trying to say that I was in combat or anything like that. What I will tell you is that my friends were, and it does suck coming home. Even if you're not a combat veteran, when you're in the military and you're 19, 20, 21 years old and you're in charge of tens of millions of dollars worth of equipment, and then you get out and you're only qualified to stock shelves according to civilians.
Yeah.
On top of everything else, that really messes with your mind too, right? Like, this is what the military trained me for. Are you serious right now? And the Sean Ryan show is even talking about it under the Obama administration. Veteran resumes were going to the bottom of the stack.
Wow.
We were supposed to have this veterans preference, right? Especially with federal jobs and all these different jobs at big corporations, Chase, Johnson & Johnson, and come to find out that it leaked out. And you'll see it. Go look up, I think it's with Dave Miller, the Sean Ryan podcast, and he even he confirms it. He's like, yeah, this was an official leak. This is fact. Veterans resume go to the very bottom of the stack for whatever reason. You can cite every reason you want to, but that's the reality.
What would so here they go to the top? What would cause that?
So when I was listening to that podcast, it was, is this guy going to fly off the handles?
Okay.
Is he going to be okay? Is it, PTSD? Is he going to just grab a gun and do something? While maybe you can be scared about that does not, even with my friends who I know that are very seriously impacted by PTSD, you don't need to worry about something like that necessarily, right? And this kind of fear around, well, what's he going to do? Or, and I get it to an extent, because veterans, we got a dark sense of humor. I'll tell you that. When I first got out, my wife straight up looked at me. She's like, okay, two things real quick. The boys will not hear you curse like that, number one. And number two, do not tell me your jokes. She was like, do not like them. I do not want to hear them. I get this is how, you were, with your team and all that back there. But, that stuff doesn't fly at home. So I get that to an extent. If veterans haven't quite, adapted too much to being a civilian, they haven't figured out that it really is a different culture. Sure. But what I'm given to understand is the reason that they were going to the bottom of the stack is people just did not want veterans, because either they were afraid of them or they didn't find them to be trustworthy. And that sucks. From my experience, I'll tell you, my first job in the military, I was a pharmacy technician about Mountain Home Air Force Base. I did not want to do that job. I am very grateful that I did have that job and that I was up there with the people that I was with.
Come on.
I'm very, very grateful for the experiences that I learned and the looking back on it, how much I was able to mature from that from 18 to 20. But when I joined the reserve out of that, I left active duty from Mountain Home and I went into the reserve. I had just left managing a small but an inpatient pharmacy clinic. And so I was like, okay, I can do all these things. I know how to do this. I know how to records management. I know these different things, hazardous accumulation point. I know how to handle with Pyxis machines, and I know how to run an inpatient pharmacy clinic, and I know how to run a clean room, right? Was not given the time of day.
Wow, that can't happen, dude.
Was not given the time of day. And
can't happen.
In the defense, I guess, to kind of give an excuse for this, part of it was nobody was going to look at a 20-year-old and put them in charge of, Phoenix Children's Hospital's inpatient clinic. I kind of get that. But, I wasn't prepped for that. Nobody told me that, right? Yes, I should have figured it out on my own, but please remember I was an ignorant, stupid 20-year-old man, like we 21 or 22. So that was tough, and that's really, really tough for a lot of veterans when they come out. I've got all this responsibility. I've done all these different things, and now I get out, and I either have nothing to do, or I don't even know what to do, right? And that was an issue that I had. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to go. I didn't really know what my purpose was whatsoever. And I was lucky enough that because I was in transition to the reserve, I left active duty and joined the reserve. They had a program called Palace Chase. I don't know if they still have it. But I finished out my reserve contract or my active duty contract in the reserve. I was fortunate enough that I was only civilian for 6 months. And it may not have even been a full 6 months, but they reactivated me and sent me to Mississippi to train on a naval base for 6 months after that. Okay. So I had income again, and I kind of got reignited with kind of a purpose, right? I'm back in the service. I'm back among my comrades. I'm back around my friends and my environment, right? My culture, right? The people that don't look at me twice for a bad joke, and people that curse worse than I did at the time. Mm-hmm. So I was lucky enough to have that, but that does not happen to your average or 90% of veterans. And so that's a really tough time. And one of the ways that I do want to give back, other than trying to help with developing a plan and developing the resources, again, they don't sponsor me either, totally could though, is Veterati. VETERATI or TTI, Veterati. If you're a veteran and you don't really know what to do or how to do something, or you're about to transition or you just did transition out of the service, look up Veterati. Daniel Rao put together a straight mentorship program for just veterans. So you can be a mentor or you can be a mentee, and it's really, really cool. You go on and you put in your information, and then you put in what you're looking for, right? If I'm a mentee, I'm looking for a mentor with this degree, maybe in this industry specific to with these kinds of goals, and then boop, and it brings you all of the different list of those people in these areas, and it'll take you straight to a calendar link, and you get to set a phone call. And most of the time I've set these appointments for mentorship and mentees, all of the people that I set it with, they were ready like next week to have that conversation with me. Okay. So really cool program. Look up Veterati, but these kinds of resources and this information, it's stuff I wish somebody would have told me, stuff I wish I would have known. And then just what to do with a paycheck, right? This comes back to our finance thing. When you join the military straight out of high school like I did, I was 18 for 1 month to the day. May 19th is my birthday. I shipped out on June 19th. I was 18 years old for a month to the day. I didn't know how taxes worked.
That's right.
I didn't even know that federal and state taxes was a thing, right? Don't understand dependents, don't understand deductions, didn't understand all of that. And they said, hey, do you know your 401k TSP? Nope. They said, okay, cool, do this amount. Never found out why. And I was lucky enough that I ended up automated having some money put to the side for me for the military retirement account. That wouldn't have happened had that lady not been literally walking by me. What was her name? Master Sergeant something. She was a CNA. Really nice lady in the hospital, but I wouldn't have known to go and activate my TSP had somebody not told me and start setting money aside for retirement. And if nobody tells you these things, and then you get out, and if you're an average veteran, you might be working at a grocery store as a bagger. Take advantage of something. Take advantage of these career resources. Take advantage of these monetary resources. VA home loan Can I talk about that for a second?
Come on.
Okay, veterans, VA home loan, use it. For the love of God, please use the VA home loan. It is probably the strongest loan on the market when it comes to purchasing a house. You need no money down. Now, that does not account for closing costs or what is called the VA funding fee. But I'll tell you this right now. Almost every veteran has tinnitus. That's just a thing with us. There's something that happened during your time in the service that you can actually get a service-connected disability for. Okay? If you have even just 10%, which doesn't even give you a paycheck from the VA, the VA won't even say, here's $100 a month. Sorry, the military screwed you up. They won't even give you a paycheck for 10%. But if you have 10% service-connected disability, that VA funding fee is waived. Because the way the VA kind of does it, I don't know if it's like a gotcha thing. That's a conspiracy theory we could probably go down, and I'd be happy to talk to. But the VA pretty much says, hey, even though you don't need a down payment for your house using the VA home loan, we're going to charge you a VA funding fee, okay? And if you do the math, it comes out to almost the exact same amount as a down payment would come out to, okay? It is less than a normal down payment, but it's, I don't know, for a $400,000 loan, average home price is $450. I think it's like 18 grand.
Okay.
You know? And if a VA home loan, if you're financing 100% of the value, the benefit to the VA home loan, you can't finance that, the VA funding fee. You can't finance that. You got to come out of pocket for that, whatever dollar amount that is. Some internet troll is going to go, well, $400,000 is not 18 grand. Okay, whatever the number actually is, you still have to come up with that VA funding fee. But if you have 10% service connected or more, that funding fee is waived.
Okay.
And if you're kind of lucky, like I am, glory to God, if you're lucky and if you are patient, you can, with a VA home loan, buy a house with no money out of pocket, because you can write into the deal that the seller cover the closing costs, right? And so I have bought 2 houses. I bought a third one, but I had to come out of pocket for that. But I successfully bought 2 houses in 2020 and then in 2021 with no money out of pocket, no closing costs, no down payment, because I used the VA home loan.
Congratulations.
And thank you. I didn't realize what a big deal it was. And then my realtor was like, how the heck did you do this? This is so cool, right?
That's right.
But if you build it into your contract, you can actually go ahead and get that done.
That's
Save
great.
a $500 home inspection fee.
So great.
Okay. So you can do these things, but nobody is going to tell you. And I'll tell you right now, as a person that just 2 months ago got hung up on 3 times from the VA when I called in, I'm going to tell you right now, the VA is not going to tell you. And there's going to be somebody, if somebody will see this and say, this guy's a liar, dude. I got hung up on 3 times by the VA. And that was just 2 months ago. Don't even get me started on the rest of my relationship with the VA over the past, since 2019. Okay, over the past, 5 years. Don't even get me started on the rest of that relationship. Okay, so this is my point, is that contact me, find me. I know the resources. This is a very, very stupid game. That's really what it comes down to, is that you have to play some sort of game, especially when you're transitioning out from the military, between figuring out civilian life, getting over the old military habits, getting over the old military issues that you were dealing with, and then using the VA resources. It is a game. But most of the time, most veterans don't even realize that they're playing chess with a chess master.
Gotcha.
Okay? Let me teach you how to play the chess so that you can, maybe you won't win at the game, but you're going to get some good benefits out of this game.
I love it.
Okay.
I love it. Let's talk about your, so a couple things. So Jensen, you're getting your question ready, right? All right, awesome. And then we mentioned some bad jokes. So you and I are going to tell one. Okay, that's coming up.
You're going to get me canceled. That's what you're going to do.
That's coming up.
I'm a clergyman in the church too. You're going to get me in a lot of trouble. So
right. You know, it could be a clean bad joke. You know, mine won't be, but that's okay.
Okay. All right.
All right. So, let's talk about your training platform on Patreon, right? So you mentioned the prioritization is faith, fatherhood, finance. Well, I think it's just brilliant. I love that, right? Those 3 F's. So let's talk a little bit about that training platform. And for those, like most folks, many folks, I should say, not most, many folks don't know when they're being spoken to sometimes.
Yep.
Okay, so there's people out there listening right now that we're talking to them specifically. So let's make sure they know who they are when we're talking to them. So
Absolutely.
you obviously you're extremely intelligent, and you've done so much.
Thanks, Nick.
You're incredibly impressive with your knowledge and what we're talking about here. Thanks. So on your training platform, who is your basic avatar? Is this somebody that's just getting started? Is this somebody that's done a lot of great things and looking to go to the next level? Is it all the above? And how do they get it?
Absolutely. And this is to toot my own horn here, if
Toot
you
it.
will. This is kind of the benefit of this platform that I'm working on building and that is being built. Is it doesn't matter what stage you are. One of my favorite verses in Scripture is Proverbs 15:33. Fear of the Lord is instruction in wisdom, and humility comes before honor. Everybody has something to learn. I promise you. I started this journey kind of going on these podcasts and talking and getting my name out there, but I couldn't do it until I sat down and realized that I'm not all that and that I've got a long ways to go.
Come on.
It's okay to ask the question and to understand that you can learn something, and that, honestly, I think we can both agree you should always be learning something.
Come on.
So this platform is designed to take you from knowing absolutely nothing to, if you want to, and some people don't, but if you want to, actually having these higher degree conversations and knowing the nuances of how to be financially successful. I don't remember who said it, but that money is the language of the wealthy. I don't remember who said that quote, but it's true. And if you really want to get to these upper echelons, these upper tiers of income and of the professional world, of the financial world, you need to know what you're talking about. And this platform, this training program is going to teach you and give you your basic building blocks. And then if you want to learn more, we're going to make sure that you have the information and the wherewithal and the skills to not just be financially set, to be financially wealthy. And then from there, what's the game after that? The advanced game. And we're usually, no advice, but we're usually talking taxes and tax code, right? Because that's where the upper echelons really come in, because the government's coming for you. The IRS is coming when you start to make money, all right? And how do we make sure that that money stays with us and with our family, or goes to the things that we want it to go to, charity, church, whatever it is, instead of the government that can't fix the pothole on my road that's been there for 7 years, right? So how do we make sure that that money goes into the pockets we want them going into instead? And so my program will take you through all of that so that you can actively and consciously make the right decisions to have a better future.
Folks, that's on the URL is patreon.com/Joseph Peck, right? So that's how they get to it.
The Hitstreak is powered by Team Hyder. Team Hyder has been serving you for 11 years and has racked up over 20 national and local awards for excellence in all areas. When it comes to finding the right health plan, we need to consider your family's needs and your family's budget. That's what we do to serve you. To look further and to book an appointment, visit teamhyder.com.
Let's talk a little bit about this. What you can talk about the I believe it's the Growth Over Comfort event here in Nashville, right, in October.
Correct. That's going to be here in downtown Nashville. We'll release the exact location and the address as we get closer to it. There's going to be myself as one of the speakers and some other really, really cool speakers. I don't think I'm allowed to really announce too much about it at this point. But I'll tell you what, the people coming into this event, I know firsthand that between just two of them, they're worth, if not over, they're darn close to $1 billion between just the two of them.
So a lot of knowledge.
So I can't emphasize how much knowledge is going to be at this event and really what the benefit is. And I can't foot stomp enough how valuable being in the right room is with the right mentality. I mean, just in the last, I don't know, 3 months has that really cemented in my brain, which is, yes, who you know and how you know them is important, but man, do you really got to be in the right rooms to have some really good information.
That's right.
And this event is going to do it for you, and it's going to teach you a lot of great things and give you a lot of great examples of just that, growth over comfort, and why that's important.
I love it. And they can just keep up with your Instagram as far as like when registration goes live, right?
Absolutely.
That's what I'm talking about. All right, so you mentioned you're going to be on stage, and based on like you're so well spoken and well versed here, I would imagine on stage it's pretty dang good too, right? So
Thanks.
Those keynotes, that's something that you're excited to start doing more of, and so on and
Absolutely.
so forth, right? So go ahead. So as far as like what type of events you'd like to be hired for, or who you'd like to speak to, let's talk about that a little bit.
Absolutely. So yes, I'm going out to a military base in August, and I've got a couple of other things lined up at corporate offices too. And so far, I'm really speaking to two things. That's what I've been booked for, and these are what my expertises are, which is financial literacy. Really going into more depth of what you and I have been talking about here today. And then the other thing that I'm speaking to, and that I'd really like to talk more about is at universities and schools.
Yeah.
Problem solving, right?
Yes, sir.
Nobody knows how to solve problems anymore.
That's right.
This is absolutely applicable to the corporate world as well. But my sort of holy crusade is to teach the next generation. I want to teach veterans, and I want to teach the next generation money. I want to teach veterans, and I want to teach the next generation how to solve a complex situation. And the beauty of it, you said your buddy Brad Lee, he loves keeping things simple, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's like, listen, it's not that hard, right? Have you ever heard of the OODA loop?
Mm-mm.
The OODA loop was made by John Boyd,
Okay.
U.S. Air Force pilot, and it stands for Observe, Orient, Decide, Act.
Okay.
Everybody can use this. The book Boyd, Boyd, go look it up and read it. Fantastic book. It teaches you the OODA loop, how he created it and how he actually taught it for dog fighting for pilots. Okay, and anybody that's in sales can attest to the fact that it feels like a dog fight half the time, right? Anybody in sales can use this, but what I also want to foot stomp here is, as far as the corporate world, a lot of attention is on sales today because media, money, everybody likes to see sales. It's the race, right? It's the thing that everybody gets excited about. But HR, operations, logistics, this is a problem-solving method that can be applied to literally anything in life.
Okay.
Anything that you tackle, anything in your personal life.
Yeah.
And I want to go and be speaking at these universities. I'm in talks with one of the universities in Phoenix right now to hold an event on this. How do you solve a problem, and how do you respond to it accurately, right? Instead of reacting. How do you take some information, and how do you utilize it to come up with a creative solution that, again, most of the time is actually really simple.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of times, and I think you can attest to this, is our people or even ourselves will get kind of hit in the face with something, and then we'll go, oh my, okay, what do I do? And if you actually just take a breath and you kind of bring it down for a minute and you go, okay, what exactly just happened?
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you a story, okay? So when I was in the Middle East, one of the jobs we were set to do was we were going from a temporary location to a permanent base, okay? So we were ripping up all of these tents, and cockroaches out there, the size of your head. And I didn't know this. Female cockroaches fly. Did you know that?
No.
Female cockroaches
and I wish
fly.
I did not.
So, well, hang on. Now, I shouldn't be putting this out there publicly because somebody's going to mess with me. But my wife, she kills the bugs in our house. I make the money. I protect the household. I don't do the bugs. I don't do bugs. I don't like bugs, okay? It doesn't matter the bug. I don't like them. So anyway, back to our situation. My team was tasked with, there was Tent City, which is where everybody lived, and then there was office buildings that like our command was using and engineering all these different things in a tent, and we were going down to rip up the tents so somebody else could come in and build a permanent structure. Ripped up the first tent. That was weird, no cockroaches. Ripped up the second tent. We've been here a while. Where are all the cockroaches? Third tent, fourth tent, no cockroaches. We're like, this is really weird, right? Anyway, we go down one line, and then we go over to the next row, and there's only 2 rows of these office buildings, and we're coming down, and we get, I don't remember how many there were. Let's say there was 10. We get to tent 9, and I look at my buddy McInnes, and I'm like, wait, where are all the cockroaches? I don't know. He picked up a cockroach, went over to somebody's truck, and threw it in there, and then rolled up the window, and, they were freaking out in the truck. Little turd of a dude. Love that guy though. Anyway, we got to the final tent. We take off the over thing, and we rip up the floor. And as God is my witness, you ever see Prince of Egypt, the cartoon from the 90s?
Yeah.
Yeah, you remember when the locusts come and block out the sun?
Yeah.
Dude.
Oh, man.
Thousands of cockroaches started flying.
No.
And I'm going to tell you, I'm not a bug guy.
No.
But I'm around military, butch, construction guys. The second they find out I've got a thing about bugs, I'm dead.
Yeah.
I'm going to find a cockroach in my bed every single night. Every time it's going to be in my boots, right? And so all of these cockroaches just started flying. And when I tell you it took everything inside of me not to scream like a little girl and crap my pants, cockroaches started flying. I put the tent tarp down. Hey guys, I'm gonna go use the restroom real quick. I'll be right back. And I went into the restroom. And then I sat down on the porta-john and I just took a deep breath. I go, oh my God.
Yeah.
Took a really deep breath. But I responded. I didn't react.
That's right.
Right? I very easily, and I wanted to just go, and run away screaming like a little girl because I do not do bugs. They're not my thing. But I didn't. It takes a lot of self-control.
Sure.
It's not an easy thing to do. But if you go through this process of observing what's happened, taking the information, orienting it, that's not a word, and then making a decision based off of your observations and the best path forward with what you have observed, and then acting on that after you've taken your decisions and you've decided the best possible event could come out of this solution,
Right.
and then act on it. If you do that, everything in your life will actually benefit. If you can stop reacting at stuff, your sales process will be better. If you use this as a sales process, it'll be very good. Everything you do at work, your personal relationships will get better. And then for my university students, when you actually go into a situation and you join the real world and you're not in the classroom anymore, and somebody throws something at you and says, hey, I need that done by 5 o'clock on Friday or whatever it is, you don't even know what you're looking at because you've got wild imposter syndrome and your brain isn't even done maturing because you're 19 years old or you're 22 years old. If you can master this process, you can really handle any solution. And if you can't handle it, what it's going to do is it's going to make very clear, who do I need to go to get this information?
That's right.
This OODA loop process I used on myself.
Okay.
I told you I kind of had that chip on my shoulder. Yeah, I'm doing okay, blah, blah, blah. And I said, there's another level I can be getting to here. And so I used this process. I go, who are the people that have the information that can help me out of my problem right now?
Right.
And you use this process and it'll help you. But you got to master it, and it's only going to take practice. And so this is something that I go by and that I teach, not just at corporate offices, but also to schools and universities.
I love it, man. I love it. I love it. All right. So before we get to your question, Jensen, we're going to give our bad jokes real quick.
Man.
Okay. So I'll open it up and go first, right? So you can get prepared for yours.
All right.
My first one might be so bad I might give a second one. All right, so one of my favorite ones, and by the way, my son was when he was 4 or 5 years old, he would always break the ice. I'll tell his joke when he was little, right? And he would always walk up to somebody, and he would just look at him and say, "Hey, my butt's broken," and they would say, "What? What do you mean your butt's broken?" He said, "Well, it's got a crack in it." Right? When a 5-year-old says that,
all right,
blows him through the roof.
Good dad joke, yeah, good dad joke.
All right, I got another dad joke for you.
All
right. So I use this one a lot. So, but in all honesty, after all the crap that they've been through, can you believe that they're still together? Your butt cheeks.
I know where this is going.
I heard another one yesterday. I don't know. I hope I get it right. I went to the doctor and for my annual thing and getting my prostate exam. So I asked the doctor, I was like, "Hey man, what would you like for me to do with my pants?" He said, "Just throw them over there on the floor next to mine."
Yeah, I heard that one. Yeah.
All right.
He just did not appreciate that one.
All right, I'm done. Now it's your turn.
All right. My bro, I can already feel my brother getting tense because he hates this joke, but because I tell it everywhere. But it's my favorite dad joke of all time. All right. There are 2 muffins in an oven. All right. One muffin turns to the other and says, "Oh my gosh, we're in an oven." The other muffin looks at him and says, "Oh my gosh, a talking muffin." I know it's bad, but it's my favorite. Yeah, he's not even. I didn't even get a smirk out of Jensen on that one, man. He's hearing his own dad back there, like, that was so stupid, dude.
That's right. That's right. Well, even when my wife was so upset with me when like I didn't remember her birthday, so I asked her. I was like, "Well, when is it?" And she was like, "It's March 1st." So I walked around the room and I asked her again.
I heard one like that. This might upset some people. You might have to cut this out. But my wife told me that I need to be more in touch with my feminine side. So I crashed the car, and I didn't talk to her all day afterwards.
We did good. We did good. All right, so Jensen, lean over here just a little bit, and it'll pick you up. I want to hear your question. So lean over. It doesn't matter if you make it on the camera or not. If you do, great. But speak. Let's project very loud, and I bet this microphone will pick you up a little bit. Let's hear your question for Joe.
All right. So something that I hear a lot is like making investments for that passive income thing.
Mm-hmm.
For somebody my age who's just starting to build more of an income, what would be a suggestion for the best types of investments for somebody younger to make, just getting started into all this type of things?
Great question. So that's a little bit of a two-parter.
Let's go.
And again, this is no advice to anybody's specific situation. However, the rule of thumb in finance is 15% of your income. So let's start there. Whatever it is that you make, if you make $100,000, $15,000 per year should be going into some sort of tax-deferred savings account, okay, retirement account, 401k, 403b, IRA, whatever it is, 15%. That's it. You can't do 15,000 in an IRA. So if you get past the IRA limits, whatever your income is, that 15%, stash into another brokerage account or something like that. Okay. And these are questions then you come and talk to a financial advisor about if you have. And then, all right, so what are the investments? Time, like I said, is your best friend in the market, right? One of the reasons that advice gets different as you get older is if we look at 2008, you lost a substantial amount of your money that year. And then in 2009, if you stayed in the market and you didn't make any decisions, you didn't change anything, you had all of your money back by, I believe it was 2011. And after that, you have more money now than you did in 2008 if you kept it in. But you made all of your money back by 2011. And don't quote me on that. It could have been 2012. But it was right within about 3 or 4 years. If you stayed in the market, you recouped all of your losses. So somebody that's 70 or 75, they need that income now because they're retired. They may not have the ability to wait those 3 or 4 years to recoup their losses. That's why it's a different conversation. However, when you're younger, you can typically afford to be more aggressive with your investments, right? Now, again, this isn't advice. However, younger investors, if you follow this ideology, you can be more aggressive with your investments because the idea is that you're not going to be taking it out in 3 years, in 5 years, in 10 years. The idea is that you're not going to be taking it out in 30 years. So you've got 30 years of market downturns and market appreciation for you to go ahead and just stand in the hurricane, right? If the market's going down, if it's going up, whatever it's doing, you don't care because you're not using the money, right? For another 30 or 40 years. So what are the investments that have the best probability of, long-term capital appreciation? Well, that's a loaded question, right? That comes down to people's risk tolerance and all these other things. But tech is typically, historically considered a more aggressive investment. So things like today, NVIDIA, everybody loves NVIDIA, except for the last week they've hated it. NVIDIA, AMD, things like that. Those are going to be your aggressive stock, maybe even some energy, depending, right? Some people really just like blue chip stock, which a blue chip is just a historically financially strong company, right? So Apple, Walmart, Coca-Cola, Berkshire Hathaway. These are going to be some of your blue chip stocks, right? So I'd say the main takeaway would be 15% of your income, long term. And if you could do long term, you're looking at things like tech. Anything after that, you get into a little bit more advice, which I can kind of, get in trouble with. If you're not my client, we have something called KYC, know your customer, and regulation best interest, right? We have to, anybody that I'm talking to, we have to get to know each other, let me buy you dinner and schmooze you all nice. Go for a long walk on the beach to really give you some better advice that is specific to your situation. But in terms of really generalistic advice, you're going to be looking at S&P 500 in index funds for mutual funds, and then tech, energy, blue chips, things like that. So, but I'll tell you what, if you just look at, you Google the market returns of the S&P 500 for the last 40 or 50 years, you can go with that approach too. A lot of people will go with that approach, because this is kind of the joke that I make to a lot of my customers, which is, hey, because, with Biden and Trump and everything, a lot of people, will call and say, Biden's going to steal all my money, or Trump's going to, nuke us, whatever it is. I've literally had people that have called me and said, I'm afraid my 401k is going to go to zero. And I tell them all the same thing. I go, listen, the U.S. economy will always go up. Your market's always going to go up. I can't guarantee that. I can't guarantee anything. But if your 401k goes to $0 because something happened, we're probably in nuclear war, and you don't really need to worry about your 401k. Right. You've got bigger fish to fry right now. You've got other things to worry about. So play the long game. Play the long game. Look for aggressive investments.
It's good stuff right there. Good stuff. All right, man. So as we bring this sucker to a close, any final thoughts for everybody?
Yes. I would say to my veterans, it's going to suck. It's not going to be fun for 90% of you getting out and in that transition, because really nobody's going to help you with it. Use your resources. Contact me at my different social medias. Let me know how I can help. I will give you every resource I can. Veterati is a huge one. Please look up Veterati. For my next generation, ask the stupid question. I guarantee you it's not stupid. Ask for help, because you have no idea what you're getting yourself into. Most of us have no idea what we're in right now. Ask for help. Learn the basics early and plan for the future. You'll be all right.
The Hitstreak is powered by BOK Financial. When it comes to your credit card merchant processing, BOK Financial is efficient, reliable, and trusted. At the end of the day, when it comes to processing your credit card payments, they make it simple, the way it's supposed to be. Check out BOK Financial.
This was great, man. So much solid information and perspective and stuff. Seriously, man. Great job, folks. We're hanging with Joe Peck, VP and financial advisor at BOK Financial. Check out his training platform on Patreon, patreon.com/Joseph Peck. Keep up with him on Instagram at Real Joseph Peck. Be staying in tune for announcements on that event happening on October 4th right here in Nashville, Tennessee, the Growth Over Comfort event, And so you guys can take full advantage of that, as well as he is ready and available for any keynotes talking about financial literacy. Come on.
Absolutely. Hit me up. Let me know. I'm happy to help.
Well, dude, seriously, great job. Thanks for being here with us today, man. Appreciate you.
Nick, thank you for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure, especially when, Jensen did not like our jokes. So
That's right.
That made them all the better. So thank you.
That's right. Well, folks, thanks so much for tuning in to yet another episode of The Hitstreak. I'm your man, Nick Hyder. God bless.